This is my presentation for Test 4, Part 2. And just to get started, I'm going to explain question number 1. So, two students simplified a number as shown, 25 to the power of 3 over 2. And we ask us which student is correct, and we're going to explain our answer. So to start, let's go over student A's problem. The number they're given is 25 and 3 over 2. 25 to the power of 3 over 2. And if we go back to our lesson in August, it's a lesson we had in August. It says this: if we have a fraction where our exponent is, the denominator is the root and the numerator is the power. So we plug 25 into a square root to the power of 3, because there's 3 over 2, and then we get square root of 25 is just 5. So 5 to the power of 3 equals 5 times 5 times 5, and that equals 125. So student A is correct. But this is a bit of a trick question, because if we go down and look at student B's problem, they're also given 25 to the power of 3 over 2. And they split it up into 25 times 25 times 25 to the power of 1/2. So if we did that, using the same methodology we used up here, 25 times 25 times 25 to the power of 1/2 would just equal 25 times 25 times 25 squared, to the square root. So there would be nothing here. It would just be a 1, and that means nothing. So what is the square root of 25 times 25 times 25? It's just 125. And student B simplified it even further by saying square root of 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5 times 5. That also equals 125. And they simplified it even more into just 5 times 5 times 5, or the 5 cubed, which all of that equals 125. No matter which way you write it, as long as you do it in one of these ways, it equals 125. So student B is also correct. In number 2, the question says, a student is using the completing the square method to transform the equation x squared minus 10x plus 36 equals 0 to the form x minus h squared plus k equals 0. Which step would give them the correct answer? So I just write out the problem: x squared minus 10x plus 36 equals 0. Subtract 36 from both sides, and you get x squared minus 10x equals negative 36. Now we need to do the half square. The half square means that you take this number right here in the middle, in which case is negative 10x, halve it, so negative 10 divided by 2 equals negative 5, and then square that. So negative 5 times negative 5 equals 25. Now add this 25 onto both sides, and you get x squared minus 10x plus 25 equals negative 36 plus 25. And now I simplified that a bit into x minus 5 squared. I got that from, I just pulled this x down, and then I took the negative 5 that we got over here, and then I just plugged it in right after the x. It's really not very complicated. And then you just have to square that. And that would just get you negative 11. But if you go back to the problem, one of your answer choices, in this case, answer C, says add 25 to both sides of the equation. We did that right here. And express x squared minus 10x plus 25 as x minus 5 squared. And x minus 5 squared, if you put that in a calculator, it'll give you the same exact answer as if you did x squared minus 10x plus 25. So that is the answer for number 2. For number 3, it asks, the length of a rectangle is 2x minus 1 units, and the width is x minus 2 units. The area of the rectangle is 20 square units. What is the length of the rectangle? So what I did is I plugged in the answer choices, 0.5, 3, 4.5, or 8, in for x. And when I did that, I found that 2 times 4.5 minus 1 equals 8, and then 4.5 minus 2 equals 2.5. And then we need to multiply them together because we're finding the area of rectangle. And when you find the area of rectangle, you need to do width times length. So 8 times 2.5 does equal 20. So the answer choice in this case is C. And I did that same equation for all the other choices just to make sure that I was correct. I did for 0.5, 3, and 8. And the only one that got me 20 was 4.5. So C is the answer for number 3. For number 4, we have this problem. Use the quadratic formula to solve y squared plus 7y equals 6. Now, the quadratic formula says, let me write it out real quick. The quadratic formula says you have x equals negative b plus minus square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So that's the quadratic formula. And now we need to plug in those numbers into that formula. So our a value in this case would be 1, because it's just y squared, so that just means 1. Our b would be 7y. And to get our c, we need to move this 6 over here. So after all that's said and done, our a equals 1. Our a equals 1. B equals 7. And c equals negative 6. And so I plugged that in for the quadratic formula. Negative 7 plus minus square root of 7 squared minus 4 times 1 times negative 6 over 2 times 1. And that gets me negative 7 plus minus 49 minus negative 24 over 2. Then I just kept simplifying that until I got x equals negative 7 plus minus square root of 73 over 2. And there is no perfect square for 73, so this is as simplified as you can get. So I just split it up into both of the answer choices. X equals negative 7 plus square root of 73 over 2, and x equals negative 7 minus 73 over 2. And then for question 5, it asks, Jonah threw a tennis ball straight up into the air. The ball traveled up to a maximum height, then fell back down to earth. The height of the ball at various times after being thrown is shown in the table below. Then it gives us the table, and then it says the height of the ball as a function of time is described by the function h equals negative 16 squared, negative 16t squared, plus 50t plus 6. At which of the following times was the ball located exactly at a height of 41 feet? So I looked at this table and saw that at 2 seconds it was at 42. And since we want to know when it was at 41, I looked for the answer choice that was close to 2 seconds. And I went, at first I thought it would be C, but I tested it and it was wrong. But when I plugged in D for the equation, it was correct. And I'll explain that. So it says negative 16 times t squared. If we plug in 2.7 for t and square it, we get 4.289. Plug that back into the equation. Negative 16 times 4.289 plus 50 times 2.07 from right here plus 6. Once we do the simple math, we get negative 68 plus negative 68.5584 plus 103.5 plus 6. Then we just do addition and we get 40.9416 and equals negative 41. Well, okay. I explained it wrong, sorry. If we add these together, we get 40.9416 when the ball is at 2.07 seconds. And 40.9416 equals about 41. It's very close. So at 2.07 seconds, the ball was at a height of 41 feet. And that is my presentation for Test 4, Part 2.